Good afternoon and welcome to Crap Grandma Says. I've been off social media for a little while. Life's been lifing and there just hasn't been the time or space to make videos. But today, I watched a documentary about the Oklahoma City bombing. April 19th, 1995. That was 30 years ago today. And I couldn't let this day pass without saying something. Today is Oklahoma City Bombing Victim Remembrance Day, and we need to remember not just the lives that were lost, but the reasons they were lost. I want to start by saying to the families of the 168 victims, I'm still sorry, still heartbroken, still angry. 30 years later, it's still fresh for many of us, and the rest of us ought to treat it that way too, especially given how little we seem to have learned from it. Now, let me remind some folks, or maybe teach them, because the memory hole is deep, why that bombing happened in the first place. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was the result of radical right-wing rage. Rage over Ruby Ridge, rage over Waco, rage that the government dared to say, no, you can't build your own private army under the name of the Second Amendment rights. Rage to that to this day is alive and well and walking around in red hats. Let's be clear. Ruby Ridge in Idaho and the Waco siege in Texas, both of those were seen by the far right as tyrannical overreach. Not legitimate law enforcement action. Not attempts to stop weapon stockpiling or, in Koresh's case, to rescue kids from the hands of a man the authorities knew was a pedophile. Nope. To these folks, it was proof the government was the enemy. So they got mad, and then they got organized. You think all this sounds familiar? It should, because the anger that exploded in Oklahoma City was the exact same brand of anti-government extremism we saw come to a head on January 6th. Different year, same people, same rage, same flags, same lies. At least one of the men involved in the Oklahoma City bombing was present at the Waco protests. You know, the protests that attracted the kind of freedom fighter protest folks where folks carried signs about tyranny and waved Confederate flags like it was a family reunion. But don't kid yourself, he wasn't alone. That protest crowd was filled with people who would, and still would today, justify blowing up a building full of federal workers and children in the name of freedom. And what became of that crowd? They didn't disappear. They grew. They got louder, they got redder, and they renamed themselves MAGA. These are the same people who cry, the left is violent, while literally building bombs, storming the Capitol, and screaming for civil war on Facebook. These are the same people who now feel emboldened because their orange messiah got elected again and is out there waving pardons like candy on Halloween. They're dangerous, they're aggressive, and they do not care about democracy. They've made that abundantly clear. Let me say this. The Oklahoma City bombing was a warning. January 6th was a warning. What we see going on right now, this red-hatted insurrectionist cosplay, taking down the government like that, that's not a warning. That's a promise. They'll do the same thing they did in Oklahoma City if they don't get their way. They've told us who they are. They've shown us what they're willing to do. So we better believe them. These folks don't care about the Constitution. They only care about one amendment, the second. And even then, only as a blunt weapon to justify whatever destruction they've already decided on. They don't care about your children. They don't care about their own children. We can see that as they gleefully dismantle the Department of Education because guess what? You can be an uneducated oaf and still pull a trigger. You just need hate, and they've got plenty of that to spare. So no, I don't think our response to these people can ever be too strong. I think we've spent 30 years being too soft. Timothy McVeigh's end should be a lesson to them. And you know what? They'll get more due process in that than they gave the Oklahoma City victims or the police at the Capitol on January 6th. They've declared war on the government, on truth, on democracy, and we keep giving them microphones and Senate seats. We owe a change in this to the victims of Oklahoma City. We owe it to our democracy that they're trying to burn down, and we owe it to our kids, even if the MAGA crowd doesn't care about theirs. That's all for today. Grandma's back, and I'm not done yet. So there's that.